Hello, welcome to Warblog. So today I'm going to look at this Makarivka Advance. I say that because I sort of did this map and it was just sort of like a random one based on what seems to be happening, but I was just reading this Guardian account, and it's sort of saying that these are the areas where Ukraine has regained control. So from there down to Makarivka, and obviously Makarivka is there. So if you sort of look at that, so I thought, oh, I'll give this a play. I played it before and I think I did it a different way, and I'm going to just have a quick go. So what they're sort of saying is that they've sort of taken something like that or like that. Did I have... It looks as though they've made some gains along here. And what I'm sort of thinking is how probable is that? So they've sort of pushed down this way like that. Not so much that I doubt it, but I was just wondering how probable is that with this game. Can I replicate that? And I've made a few changes, and I think what's actually happening here is you can see I've got these special force units, and they're air mobile. I don't think they were using them, but I would. So it's the Ukraine turn. So I want to sort of focus, and I think last time I did it in one way, and I think this is the benefits of simulation. You can simulate it and then simulate it in a different way. And I think the key thing that I want to sort of look at in maybe a review of doing it is that's interesting. Is the engineers. I put more engineers in. I mean, look, there's 3 engineers in that group. And so the thing to do is to actually somehow pummel through here. So we have control of this, so we need to take this hex. Now, there aren't even mines there. There's just this obstacle. So in theory, if we could clear this minefield and this obstacle, that would give us 2 hexes onto this hex, and then a clear road down to Storov Heze. Basically, what I want to do is I want to concentrate all units relatively onto given fronts and use the engineers to choose particular areas. Because what I did last time, and I don't think it was a bad thing, but I sort of moved and I committed everything into sort of getting some fatigues in the minefields. But I think that was possibly not so much a mistake, but it was costly. And if we could avoid that, it would be good. There's 3 engineers there, 2 engineers there. So we've got lots of engineers that can sort of suddenly pounce, and in this instance, probably demine and de-engineer these things here. We've got 2 engineers there and 1 there, so they can possibly, concentrate on here. I think the point is trying to get a clear path, a clear passage, so that we can sort of just, because what's happening before, you have to move up to here and then you have to move to there and you stop, whereas you want to move to there and fight. So we've got 2 engineers here, and it would, because they do get quite a lot of equipment in, And I mean, I think the thing that I focused on down here, I mean, this might be a good place to focus. By just taking that out and actually moving in there and taking these two hexes straight off. So we've got 3 engineers there. I think what we want to do is to try and get them. See, there's actually an obstacle there and there. We'd really have to move them both. But I'm going to try and blow this thing up. There's 3 units in there. Might be worth taking out this Russian air defense unit. So I'm not sure whether I should give the Ukrainians more drones, more artillery, because essentially it sways the balance. So we lost that. Lost another drone. Oh, we've reduced 1 unit. He's at 4. So we're going to have 2 units into there. Oops, got to select them. So we'll push them back. Right. Now we've got to get these engineers into there if we can. Right, well, there's bridges there and bridges there. I think you need a full move, or at least more than half of your move to move into. We had problems moving in there before. And I looked at it and there's nothing there. Right, so, and here there's this little river and there's no bridges apart from one there, so I think in the first instance we could really do is sort of like trying to put a bridge somewhere here. But we want to get these into there to demine that. So I'm not going to move into these mines. But here, I'm going to build two bridges. One there and one there, just to sort of give a flow, because it's slowed things down. So what I'm really saying is we need to sort of think about how these engineers can be used. I mean, here, well, we've got some artillery. We've got a reasonable amount of artillery. Let's bomb that. So we could possibly build a bridge there next turn. So I don't want to move him in there. Oh, maybe I could. So we've committed some losses, 1.1. So if he does nothing next turn, he can recover some of that. Let's just blow one of these units up for the hell of it. Just to sort of reduce their ability somewhat. So he's down 1.55. See, I could land special forces in Makarivka, but the thing is, that'll probably only result in them being lost. You know, cause an inconvenience. But is it worth it? I mean, how much of an inconvenience? You know, because I'm thinking it'll just divert some of his air power artillery But the thing is it worth diverting that air power artillery? Because what he could very well do is bring these units, who are going to do nothing otherwise, and attack. Oh, no. I don't want to do anything that's not absolutely necessary. Although, to be quite honest, it might be beneficial, because otherwise... So we lost 2.6 on the armour there, but we're protecting these engineers. .8. Oh, got in unscathed. But the rest, I think I'm going to just sort of prepare for later. Right, and so we sort of want to bring as many of these armoured units down here. So it's trying to concentrate forces. Although, to be quite honest, I've left a lot of these air defence units vulnerable. Oh well. It's a simulation, and I'm not going to do too much. So this is the sort of first turn for the Ukrainians. We've taken that point, and we positioned engineers in suitable places to sort of, you know, assault. So what is the Russian response going to be? It always makes me laugh. I wonder if they really do sort of have that many sort of, you know, proportionate drone power. Because I think the big difference is they're really useful against advancing armour, but they're not so good against small scale, you know, infantry positions. Whilst they can take them out, they're just readily replaced. So it's probably proportionate. But so here, I mean, what do we want to do? I mean, I think that the onus is going to be somehow on trying to anticipate. And one of the other things about battle is that you've got to work quickly, you know, sort of in real time to some extent, even though it's strategic or tactical. And again, here we've got to make a decision really on, you know, what do we see as being the biggest threat? I mean, are they going to demine that? Is that going to allow hordes of Ukrainians to pour through there? I mean, are they going to sort of demine that and that? Not next turn. Or are they going to, so they're possibly going to remove all of this, possibly build a bridge here, possibly try to make a breach here, possibly a breach along here, possibly coming down here. So, and also bearing in mind that the Russians do have engineers of their own, if we can find any. There's one there. So, I mean, is it worth fighting back into that hex? And it also makes another assumption that we can see that their intent is to not cross these minefields, which means that these lines, there's less pressure against them. This might be worth just totally destroying, because they will get a bridge there next turn. So now it's, to some extent, it's sort of what swings and roundabouts really, because we could also focus on taking out these very vulnerable air defense positions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's the only one defended. 6. We also got artillery positions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Remember, we're trying to sort of replicate that Guardian thing, trying to get down to Makarivka. So they probably want to focus on defending heavily here. The other thing is that there is no bridge across here, and what we did last time actually for the Russians was build a bridge here to save them coming all the way down here and crossing there and all the way back up. So that might actually be something to consider as a priority of some sort. And I actually suspect, and I'll have to deal with this, that I've not given the Russian engineers, I put the engineer counter in there, but I think then, because what I do, I have to prime it, so I have to put a unit, so I'll put like an irregular unit there, and then I export it as a spreadsheet and manipulate the spreadsheet. And I think what's happened here is I've added the engineers, but I haven't multiplied them in any way, so we don't have any extra engineers. We've only got one engineering unit, so I will actually give them a few more, and then I have to go in and, well, one way or another, move them about. But I think putting a bridge somewhere, maybe there, perfect. So basically I build a bridge there for the Russians. What is going on here? That's interesting really, because there's a bridge there. We could sort of almost, as Russians, advance here, but it's going through a minefield. It would be nice to push them out, because they then have to fight again for that space. So the options really are to try and take out engineers, to take out the air defences, because if they, to be quite honest, they should have moved them forward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You can't actually defend these units. They should move forward. Okay. So what? Take out the engineers? take out the air defences, take out the artillery, or, you know, what can they do? They can't do everything. I think I'm going to just try and destroy everything here, starting with that. Alright, now in first instance, it's artillery. Zero. It's kind of strange really, because you see all these videos and, let's see, 2.7, 3.7, you see all these videos and of fields and the roads and all these pock marks of shell explosions, and it seems so inefficient because they're not actually hitting anything. I want to save the anti-tank for some tank, to be quite honest. So what have we got? We've got 3 irregulars. Let's see whether we can actually push them out. Oh no. Let's go for some armour. .8. That was a failure. That was frustrating, because we could have put some air power in there. Now we're sort of stuck really, we've not really made any progress there. We can't take it. Okay, let's try and take out some of this stuff. Let's use some of these aircraft first. Let's just check on their health. Depression 6, depression 4.8, depression 2.9. Just 2 more drones and we might consider a ground attack. Well, there was no effect, so we're going to do it again till we get some effects. 6, 6.7, 5.6. What have we got here? Well, we can use anti-tank. Right, so that's the first German Leopard losses, so to speak. We've got 2 engineers in there, so let's just do a ground attack with our irregulars. And we push them back. Bad dice rolls, but we push them back. However, that's a lot of effort just for 1 point. But here, let's continue with this bunch of engineers. Remembering we're not going for their air defense systems, which we could be doing, which are quite vulnerable. And instead we're trying to blunt the effect of the engineers breaching the defences, which in the long term will allow for a free flow of... So we've killed 1 engineer. Let's just look at the situation. Well, he's still... Oh, it's this one, isn't it? 7.1, 4.4. We've only got one unit that can fight into there, but we've got some anti-tank. So let's see whether we can get rid of that. Mechanized unit. Yes. Which means that we can now attack the engineering unit, which we eliminated. So we've cleaned out these two units. We've still got this unit here, so let's see what we can do there. .76. We've actually got anti-tank there. Got him. Okay, so that leaves the engineer on his own. Ooh, 3-1. He wasn't quite as whittled as I thought, but we've actually successfully pushed back that entire front, but that's virtually everything. We've failed there, pushed that back, but we've still got this, which can do something, or this. I think we're going to focus on this, because this can do something, but is this more important? Because then there'll be two bridgeheads, you see, over here. Right, let's try the anti-tank. Pushing him up to 4. Send in some drones. Oh, shot down. Right. So, that engineer unit's now on his own. I'm going to send in, well, we've actually got, let's just use the anti-tank first. In anti-tank mode. No damage. Oh well. I use both because I want to be sure I'm going to get the best odds. And that failed. So that's a difficult situation now because he is actually there. Right. Well. So now we're in a situation where this will probably go ahead. This will probably go ahead. I can move these in. We've lost some engineers here. That's been thwarted. But we failed here, and this will probably push ahead. These are sort of reserves, so I'm going to leave them there. Here. We actually managed to attack last time. Be nice to take that out. Oh no, we still got some more helicopters. Maybe that will destroy that. I was holding my breath and there it goes. So that's been thwarted. I was literally holding my breath. That was strange. Just everything. I'm not going to do any more Russian turn because I'm not going to play this. I'm certainly not going to have another 3-hour session. This is supposed to be just a few minutes and it's already taken 36 minutes. I don't have this time. But I think we've pretty much sort of done whatever we can. We could probably spend quite a bit more time fiddling with the Russians, but I'm just going to see what the Ukrainians can actually do. So we got that. So they can't do this. Well, what we've got under there is something we can do. And we got 2 engineers, so what we'll do, we'll demine. But there's still 1 mine density in there, look. So we're going to have to commit that other one to similarly demining. So we cleared the mines, but there's still an obstacle there. I'm not going to play anymore because it's too complicated. I think, to be quite honest, I think what I anticipate will happen, and because I'm playing the Russians as well, I'm sort of like targeting the engineering units. I think the engineering units are generally going to get blown up before they can actually achieve their objectives. So it's going to be very difficult, I think, to clear all the minefields. Which is essentially what we want to be doing. And I think another thing would be to actually not stack them up. So the engineers need to go in with units to limit losses, but also only 1 per hex, because the Russians would then have to attack 1 hex. So because we lost, there were 2 in there, 1 in there. You know, this was just 1 battle, whereas if there was 1, it would have been, you know, we could have somehow preserved them a bit more. I think the engineering strategy is going to be very difficult for the Ukrainians, because at this rate, they've got to get there. You know, I mean, you know, by the time these units get there, you know, I mean, oh no, they'll be able to build bridges over here, which really isn't sort of up to much, really. But I'm going to do that. I think one of the problems sort of with the game really is that the engineers take too long to recover. So we've now got 2 bridges across that stream, which isn't brilliant. It's now going to take them 5 turns before they can do anything again. I mean, really sort of, we held that. So we really need to sort of take out, demine these units. To be quite honest, that's the thing to do there. So where's the engineers? I don't think they can move in. See, they take too long to do anything. We can't just sort of move in. Some engineers there. I think we really need to sort of just blow all these units up. Three, 8. Should get a morale check on that 8 at least. So that leaves them at 6 and 5. Again, it's not really enough. Time is pressing. I've got a suspicion that special forces can blow up bridges, and we got special forces. But we've got 1 attack. That's it. That's all we can do. Well, these units seem to be able to attack. Let's push them back. There's something odd there. These ones you moved over. Okay, it's sort of like you can't have more than 2 units stacked in a town. But we've still got a fraction of a movement left. It's got 3 units. One is in good health. See, they're at half. I don't want to attack. But getting down there is what the objective is. I'm going to put my special forces in there because I'm going to finish the game in a second. But he died. He died. So we've got 2 of them in there. We're going to have to support these engineers. It will also force them to actually target these hexes. I think the obstacles limit the maximum manpower that can be in a hex. I'm not going to bother with anything else because I think that's generally the crux of the strategic movement. I'm going to pass it on to the Russians, and I'm just going to look at the situation. So we've got special forces in there now. We'll still be able to build our bridge, strangely enough, but we sort of need to sort of take this out. So we've lost a bit of ground there. I'm not gonna commit the engagements because we could have protected these a bit more. But in theory, based on what we had last time, we can only take out, say, 50% of these engineering units. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 positioned to sort of engage. These ones now will be available in 5 turns. It's too much, to be quite honest. I might actually change that, down to something a bit more game-wise, because otherwise it just takes too long. I think maybe even 2 turns would be good enough. But I'm going to leave it at that. I think it's interesting, though, to sort of consider a different strategy. And I think it's always been a bit of a problem with the engineers, because essentially games seldom go beyond 5 turns, so you get one go with them and that's it. And then they're just a bit of a pain, because they're not very good at anything. You end up just using them as infantry. But I think the fact that this seems to be where their victories have taken place is quite ironic, really, because usually I choose the wrong place. I think I'll build a battle, and I chose the right place. That there's actually sort of, considering I gave it 2 seconds of thought, I've got the right place, and it's sort of, I'd be able to play this a few times because they seem to be struggling. But it'd be interesting to sort of see how they can, accelerate down this road, down to wherever that is, the name of the game, Staromlivka. But you would have thought they would have been able to come from this way as well to get there. I mean, there's a lot of sort of hoo-ha about sort of what's what, and I think it's all a bit premature, because I think it's the long term. Because obviously there's going to be shots for tanks and things being blown up, but that's not the ones that are not being blown up. For example, we haven't touched any of these units. These units have advanced, they've not been blown up. These units they've been slightly attacked, but there's lots of movement elsewhere where they're basically getting through. And I think that the long-term strategy will be sort of will pan out over the next 2 months. It's quite possible that the Russians will be able to counterattack in these areas, or to to sort of recover that, or not. But it's sort of that's what's happening. It's quite an enclave, really. It's quite a sort of a significant advance, but you've got to think of how significant is it, because in this instance we've actually got a second line of defence here, and that's only just starting. I'm pretty sure that the Russians will be able to sort of possibly in some way counterattack, but we'll see, really. But it's just interesting that I actually chose the right spot for once. I'll leave it at that, and but I'd love to play this again and again, but just don't have time, really. But I think I will adjust the engineers. I think the special forces are interesting. We do actually control Makarivka, and be interesting to know whether they are doing anything like that. I can't ever remember the name of these wars, but there's Bain Main Fu or something, where the French put an advanced position, and they basically, their objective was to supply it with an airlift, so it was an air base, Bain Main Fu, and you would have thought that they could do similar things these days. By going deep behind enemy lines and taking little towns and villages that are strategic, and then holding them, almost on suicidal missions. But the thing is, for the greater effort, if they can hold those places, and they would have to actually take them. So there's no difference from holding a place like that, deep behind enemy lines, than there is sort of holding a block in Bakou, or wherever it's called. One of these cities where the street fighting is bloody. But anyway, I'll leave it at that, and I'll speak to you later. Cheerio.